Hi, everybody. Welcome back to episode 38 of In My Plant Based Kitchen. I'm Emma. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist and a certified plant based chef. And today is the day that I invite you into my kitchen to talk about all things plant based, tips and tricks, things I've been reading, inspiration, hopefully, sometimes some recipes, often recipes. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about how I am getting turmeric and ginger into my daily diet. This is something that I'm always aware of, but I don't always make it happen. And recently I have been reading How Not to Age by Dr. Greger, his most recent book, which is fabulous. And I've been reminded of how important it is, and actually learned a little bit more about some of the reasons that it is important to get these spices into your diet on a daily basis. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today and talk about a little hack that I've been using to make sure that it happens for myself that might be helpful to you. So I've talked about why turmeric is a great spice to consider getting into your daily diet in previous episodes, and I will link to that episode below. And I talked about making a golden milk and a turmeric tea, and those are wonderful things to do. But in reality, those aren't things that I necessarily do on a daily basis. I also talk about other ways to get turmeric into your diet in scrambles or curries, things like that. And again, I do those things, but I just wanted to make sure I was definitely getting it in on a daily basis. And so I have been so again, that's what I wanted to talk to you about today and share that hack with you. There's a section in Dr. Greger's new book that made me think again about turmeric and ginger. Um, and I've been using this trick for a few weeks now, and I love it. I think it's working. It's making me, even if it's in my mind, it's a placebo effect, maybe, but I don't think so. I feel like my joints are a little more supple. I feel like the inflammation in my body is decreasing. So I'm going to share it now, and I'm going to talk about all the components and why they are helpful as we go. So, what the big hack is a turmeric shot. So I love turmeric tea. I love turmeric iced tea. I love golden milk. But when I make those things, I often will add maple syrup or a sweetener because it makes the turmeric, the bitterness of the turmeric, it just cuts it. It makes it a little bit easier to take. I don't want to be doing that necessarily on a daily basis, adding a sweetener to a drink that I'm having every day. So this way, I don't have to add anything additional. It's not that this is a sipping drink that tastes delicious. It is functional. It is something that will help you to get these important spices into your diet. And so the way that you do it is I start out with about a quarter of a cup, roughly. It doesn't have to be exact by any stretch of the imagination. That's probably a little bit more than a quarter. But I use soy milk, but you can use any kind of plant-based milk. But you want to, I like soy milk because it's beneficial for lots of reasons. It's a great source of calcium. It's a good source of protein. It also is often fortified, as mine is here, with vitamin A, vitamin D, B12. So it's a good way to get some of those different nutrients into your diet, just plain soy milk. I don't tend to drink soy milk. I have it in smoothies maybe, or I use it in dishes, but I don't tend to drink it per se. So this is a way to get a little bit more of it into my diet. It also contains some fat because soybeans are actually one of the beans that are higher in fat. So it's not a high fat drink, but it has a little bit of fat. And that's helpful in this case because turmeric is the active component in it is curcumin, and curcumin, the absorption of it is really aided by a little bit of fat, which is often why you'll see turmeric drinks with coconut oil or coconut milk. But those types of fats are saturated fats, and they're not necessarily the kinds that we really want to emphasize in our diet. So I go with the soy. So use whatever plant-based milk that you like, but that is the base of this. I put this in first because I have tried it both ways. And if you put the spices in the bottom of the glass, they're harder to mix in. So the next thing I'm going to include is a quarter of a teaspoon of turmeric powder. You can see this is just my culinary spice. I don't need an expensive supplement. I actually use between a quarter and a half a teaspoon normally. So I'm going to put in a half teaspoon today. And you may have heard, of course, that turmeric is probably not new to you. You may have heard that it's a great anti-inflammatory spice, which it is. It has been shown to help speed the recovery after surgery and effectively treat rheumatoid arthritis better than the leading drug of choice. These are all studies that Dr. Greger talks about. I'll link to provide some more information and links in the show notes below in case you're interested in more information. Turmeric may also be effective in treating osteoarthritis, inflammatory conditions such as lupus, inflammatory bowel disease. So it is a wonderful anti-inflammatory tool, a wonderful anti-inflammatory spice. But turmeric is also known to reduce DNA damage by 40 to 55% in people who are consuming just culinary amounts on a daily basis. So he recommends a quarter of a teaspoon. He talks about studies that use up to 3/4 of a teaspoon. So, but this is not a huge amount, but absolutely reasonable to get it in on a daily basis. And in How Not to Age, Dr. Greger talks about studies that have been done on turmeric consumption, daily turmeric consumption, and says the protection may be because turmeric can significantly boost the activity of our body's own antioxidant enzymes. So one example of this is catalase, which is an enzyme that can detoxify millions and millions of free radicals every second. So it's really, I'll talk a little bit more about why DNA damage is something we want to avoid once we've talked about ginger, because that is a key component too. So a pinch of black pepper, I usually just do a couple of turns, is a really good thing to add as well, because again, we know that a little bit of black pepper, it just has to be just a touch. When it is combined with turmeric, it boosts, and I don't know, I can't remember it exactly the amount is, but significantly boosts the activity of curcumin in your body. So really good thing to combine with turmeric whenever you are consuming it. And then the other thing I'm going to add is I usually just use equal parts. So I'll do a half teaspoon, but normally on a daily basis, I'll just do a quarter teaspoon of each of ginger powder. So many people think of ginger, when you think of ginger, it says an anti-nausea spice. It's just yummy. So we include it in many dishes, especially, Thai-inspired dishes, Vietnamese cuisine, things like that. You'll find ginger aplenty. But ginger is also known, especially ginger powder, which is actually shown to be even more potent, has been found in random double-blind placebo-controlled trials to be effective for treating osteoarthritis, premenstrual syndrome, and menstrual pain, preventing and treating migraines, reducing cholesterol, triglycerides, blood sugars, and blood pressure, as well as oxidative stress and DNA damage. There's that DNA damage again. So why is this something that you want to avoid? Simply because damage to DNA can cause genetic alterations. And if the genes that control cell growth are involved, then these mutations can lead to the development of cancer. Since 2000, more than 50 clinical trials involving humans have been done, and curcumin has been shown to play a role in preventing or treating lung disease, brain disease, a variety of cancers, including multiple myeloma, colon cancer, and pancreatic cancer. So these spices are powerful, and they are a great thing to try to make sure we're getting in on a daily basis. So that is why I am doing my turmeric shot every day. I saved it. It's the afternoon. I normally do it in the morning, right after my morning walk or gym expedition. You can see maybe that it is. You do need to. I either take a fork or a whisk. A small whisk is even more ideal because you really want to get it integrated into the milk. It will settle to the bottom if you don't put it in second. I'm not going to tell you this tastes wonderful. It doesn't. It's fine. Like it's not horrible, but it's not something I drink for the flavor. So you can see I've got this nice golden shot here. It actually doesn't taste bad. It's spicy, but it doesn't taste bad. Drink that up. Got my turmeric and my ginger for the day. And usually I actually just go and rinse this with a bit of water and then drink the rest of the water to make sure I got it all. And then I rinse my mouth with water because of course turmeric can stain your teeth. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. It's something that I've been finding. I like to find these little hacks that I do on a daily basis just to keep me on the right keep me on the right path of making sure I'm getting these healthy foods into my daily routine. So I hope that's helpful to you. I do want to mention before we end this that there are a couple of cautions. These are powerful spices. I mentioned this last time too, and I like to always mention it. You don't want to overdo it. A little bit is great. Too much of a good thing is not always great. And too much turmeric can increase the risk of calcium oxalate kidney stones in people who are susceptible to them. You don't want to take turmeric if you have gallstones because it stimulates gallbladder activity and it could cause pain. So if you do start to try this and you're getting any pain and you don't know you have gallstones, then you might want to just pay attention to your body. Listen, if you don't have them, if you don't have gallstones, turmeric can actually help prevent them. So I'm not trying to scare you here. I'm just trying to make sure that you have all the information because these really truly are powerful spices. If you're on medication, just make sure that turmeric is not contraindicated because it is with some medications. If you like nutrition tips and healthy living ideas like this one, I'd be grateful if you'd give this video a thumbs up. And I have some exciting new offerings coming this fall, live and online options. So be sure to subscribe to my newsletter to be kept up to date with those, and also coming videos, recipes, and other tips and tricks and information on plant-based living. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.